Let me just see how this works. Okay. Okay, I see those people who are leaving. I find you after the presentation. And I'm from Serbia, so it won't be a very nice experience afterwards. So I don't know how many of you know where the Serbia really is. So it's this green little stain in Europe over here. Let me see where the, so yes, over here. It's southeastern Europe, and we are a developing country. This is very important for the Asian part of the story. So hopefully my presentation will be helpful to some of the people from Asia who are like fighting the same issues as we do in our country. So we are a non-EU country. We're only the candidate, and it now lasts for forever, I would say. So we're quite a small country, about 7 million people. So compared with other countries here in Asia, it's really kind of a size of a little city, I would say, or average city. And what is very important for my story is that animal welfare and protection concept only started and was created and started developing in the 90s. So animal welfare, animal protection is quite new in Serbia as a concept. So what was the initial situation when we started? Because our organization is active for 28 years now, but we only started DPM program, so most of my presentation will be related to the DPM program we did in our municipality, and some stuff that we were working on a national level with animal welfare law and other laws related to animals. So initial situation when we started, let's say in 2011, 2010, 11, 12, so let's say that's the period, was that we almost had no municipal legal procedure. We had obviously packs of dogs in the streets, problems with abandoned animal bites. You probably have the same issue here, but in Serbia it's really getting really crazy because people are getting paid for being bitten. So it's really a crazy house. What we're trying to deal with that right now. And what was the very big problem was that there was no cooperation between state bodies, so between municipality and NGOs, so none, you know, and not that there was no cooperation, but we were actively fighting against each other, so that was really not a very nice and pleasant scene. And shelters were obviously without any protocol or control, because the only one who cared really about the state in a shelter were the NGOs, and we're not powerful enough. And to start with, we didn't know enough about what we can do and how we can do things, so we really didn't do a lot, and this is why we really started. And of course we had all other problems that you can imagine with stray dogs, stray animals, and other issues. So how we really started? We started by, sadly we started by mistakes, and we were learning on our mistakes. So hopefully some things that you will hear from me will help you kind of overcoming these mistakes. So how we really started is because we did a lot of projects and programs, and then we saw that something is not working. We didn't have enough knowledge. We didn't have enough know-how to start effective programs and effective projects. So we started contacting all the international NGOs in the world, and I would recommend you to do the same, so don't be shy. Contact them all. We contacted, I think the Dogs Trust was the first one, and then we contacted the WISPA, there's now the World Animal Protection, then we also contacted HSI, and also RSPCA, and I think AfA, and to conclude with PETA. So, and all of them really helped us in some part of our work. So it's really, for us, it was really important. So my proposal to you would be, if you're asking, don't ask only for money. Because big NGOs and foreign NGOs, they don't, international NGOs, they don't really like if you're asking only for money, and you should really ask if they can help you with education materials. Nowadays it's really easy. You can do a lot of things online. You can find things on the internet. So it should be much easier than it was like back in the 2000s, when you have to really do a lot to get to this information. And I would just like to give you you the background. So our organizations, I didn't do it at the beginning. So our organization is not the biggest one, even in our country, and doesn't even have the biggest budget in our country. But we thought that with what we have, let's be as much effective as possible. So, like what we've learned, we tried to share. For example, we've learned about different approaches, especially from the Docs Trust, and some of that was from the HSI, and we used it in our in our educational projects and campaigns in schools, also promoting it to other NGOs, also working a lot of in kindergartens. So. In terms of in size, I would like to say that in this kind of setup, size really doesn't matter, I would say. So overview, what is the national animal regulation right now? So I will first tell you something about national and then about municipal regulation. So we had the first animal welfare law in 2009. I was involved with a working group working on drafting the first animal welfare law, and it was a huge fight because it wasn't easy working, especially with the national government, people from the veterinary department, from Ministry of Agriculture. These are tough people. They think they know it all, and then here we are, the people from the NGO trying just to be, effective and to be really kind of helpful. I mean, but they didn't see it as a help to. They rather saw it as destruction to their plans. So we got this very complex animal welfare law, with many articles and with minimal requirements for achieving the adequate animal welfare standards. So I would say that it's really kind of a good background and a good setup, but of course enforcement is a very big issue there. We have very nice kind of hefty fines for Serbian kind of living standards. These are really huge fines, but if you don't enforce that, it doesn't matter. Even if it's $1 million, it doesn't really matter. And we also had in the Criminal Act, National Criminal Act, we have animal killing is said to be like against the law, and this was adapted in 2009, and you can get to prison up to 2 years if you're like killing animal. As it says, against the law, but yeah, it's very kind of a tricky. But again, enforcement is a problem, and we didn't have too many people, you can imagine, in the prisons because of the killing of the animals, sadly. Also animal fighting, abuse, maltreatment, misuse is covered under the both regulation, which is again really fine, but you have to work around it to enforce it. At least 50% I would be satisfied. And veterinary inspection, of course, and veterinarians have the right and obligation to supervise and control the animal welfare law and whatever happens by this document. So what we have, the new thing now happening is the National Dog Population Management Strategy, and it's first time, I think, in the history of the EU that EU has funded a working group and funded the whole project around the national strategy in order to boost, let's say, the animal welfare law, because we saw that as a very big problem, that it's there, it's good, but it's just not enforced enough. So it's aligned, which is very important. We insisted that it should be aligned with the ICAM recommendations. I don't know if you know what's the ICAM. If you know, it's good. If you don't know, you can Google it. It's International Coalition of Animal Welfare Organizations worldwide, and they're dealing with issues of companion animals. So you can just Google them out, and you will find they have really great stuff online. And also WOA, it's a World Animal Health Organization, and we really followed both of the documents. WOA has the chapter 7.7. It's now been changed, so you have to look at that. It could really help you a lot because you can use it to push things forward with the national governments. We did it, and it sort of worked, but it's tricky. It's also designed after which is very important. We didn't do a lot of research before on the national level or on a municipal level, and this was the first time that we did a huge research together. And I was also part of this, you know, you can see me around a lot. I mean, I was also part of this working group, and again, it was really tough fighting for the animals. I mean, again, it was a problem with the state bodies, either the Ministry of Agriculture or Veterinary Department, or, I mean, name it. We were like totally alone, me and another colleague, against the tide, but I think that we did a good job. And it outlines many procedures and actions and underlines the cooperation of the stakeholders. We also insisted that this should be really kind of underlined twice. And aside the national dog population management strategy, we have also the action plan that covers period of 10 years with monitoring and evaluation activities. Again, we didn't do a lot of monitoring and evaluation before, so this was a new thing. Now I will just shortly go through the local and municipal regulations. So I will start with something that's over there. So how we really started is we formed a working group with all the relevant stakeholders, let's say, before we got into any legislation sort of issues together with the municipality and the like local government, and it really worked out fine for us. So it was our proposal. We drafted it, and the municipality accepted it. The thing we did really is like we made, I mean, this would definitely work the best, you know. We made all the drafts for them, you know, so it was really easy for them, you know, to adopt this, because, you know, they had all the facts inside. So we've learned how to draft these, of course, through some experience, and we also learned it from the other and from our mistakes, as I said. And also this working group was very active afterwards in enforcing the local municipal law related to animals and animal welfare. And also we had some specific like sub-law or bylaw documents that were also drafted by this working group. And yeah, for us this working group was really kind of revelation, because working together we thought that it was like impossible, but it took us about 5 to 10 years to get along with everybody there. So it's a long process, but the result was there afterwards. So we have created together again a municipal DPM program, and it was a CNR. It consisted the CNR, let's say, part of the program, and we started in 2011, and I will just give you sort of an overview. In 2011, our city was euthanizing, let's say, about 2,500 animals, I mean dogs and cats combined, and we're not a big municipality, we're 130,000 people. So it wasn't very good what we started with, but we ended up after, again, a long time, but we ended up after a few years with this. So we were the first municipality in, I think, maybe in Europe, or at least in Southeastern Europe, where we legally presented the document that legally allows you. There is a whole procedure how you can put a dog house in a public surface for the DPM dogs who went through the CNVR program. So this house would get like a very nice paperwork, and it's legally there. So it's kind of a really, really good thing to do if it's possible, and it's not related to animal welfare. We worked a lot on a sort of bylaw document on a municipal level where it's stated how you should put something on a public surface, So it's totally like, and really we had a really good, really great help from the lawyers who really helped us with this, how to draft these documents. So these are like shortly the outlines. I will just run through. So there are all the, let's say, basic elements Again, one of the weaknesses here was the education program that we didn't really push enough, and it backlashed to us at some point. Also, information campaign was sort of lacking of some elements, so it also backlashed. So, you know, I think that World Society for the Protection of Animals had this idea of holistic approach, that you have to do everything at the same time if you want to get really good results. And this is what was our base, but sadly we couldn't cover everything with our really not that, you know, good funding. So it's really like all the elements are there. We still have to push some of that, as I said. Education, rehome is going really good. Promotion, yes, information campaign is not really good. Street animal housing and care is, as you said, as you saw, like it's really going good, because we really like were successful in this part. Okay, and I'll try to speed up. So what we've done here, municipal pilot project. So we were like thinking for many years to start a project of, you know, going from door to door and, you know, trying to promote animal welfare, trying to see how the microchipping is working, because microchipping is really important, and it's obligation by the animal welfare law. So we have to do it, but it's not, again, enforced. So we said, like, can we do this project? So we go from door to door and we ask people, you know, have you microchipped? Have you vaccinated your dog? It was always a problem. You know, municipality was always like, you can't do it legally because there are like legal issues, you can't enter the private property. So we said, like, can we do it like differently? Like, can we just go, knock on the door, ring, you know, a bell, and just ask people? And after negotiations, it took us maybe 2 years. So it takes time. You have to be really super patient. We were very successful. So we said we will do the information campaign wherever this action or project is happening. We will count the dogs before and after. We used a very good application, Talea. Probably you've heard about it. If not, you can find it on the ICAM website. It was very helpful, and you know, the result was really good. You know, 90% of people reacted very well. So nobody made a problem. You know, there were like 10% of people who didn't want to open the door, who were like complaining about everything. But in the end, you know, we got really, you know, a good response. So it shows that it can be done if you really want to do it and you know how to do it. And again, you have to be really active, you have to promote things, you have to be visible. We were on the big music festivals, we were making like pilot program houses for the street dogs, and it happened in the municipality. So we asked them, they said yes, okay. We were at many happenings. We were actively working with a public service for dog catching in our city. Yes, and also with kids a lot. So I'm not going to go through this. You've heard them before from other colleagues. So you have to prepare, you have to plan, you have to learn. As I said, research, get the data. You have to have some data at least if you're starting. Use successful models, but be realistic. We used a lot of Indian experience in our work, and you know, like from Chennai, like ABC program, this is how we started. You have to lobby heavily, you have to lobby politicians, you have to lobby in your kind of community, and you have to involve all the stakeholders if it's possible. Some of them, if they're out of the story, they will be working probably against you. Be proactive. So this thing is really like something that is very known. So assessment, then implementation, and then you have to evaluate and monitor. And for us, it was really this adaptation is like you really have to adapt wherever you work, and to adapt it to the local, like even we were working on some projects in other municipalities. We offered kind of consultancy, free consultancy, and we saw that it's so different in different municipalities. Like if it's smaller, if it's a mountain municipality, it's really, so you have to adapt and you have to be ready, you have to be clear. It's something that you really want to do, it's something that you're passionate about, so there's no excuse. And also like use all the tools available. Using all tools available, and it's our job to control the controllers, I would say, and they don't like it, and we will be always opposed by them. I'm finishing in 35 seconds. So results of our municipal program, I will just go through it. So I would say, I told you that we started with 2,500 dogs and cats euthanized, and you can see here that it's in 2015 it was down to 600. And it was caught, but it was about the same amount, was nearly, I mean, because the adoption wasn't really good. So now last year we ended up, so we went from 2,500, we ended up with, I think it was about 20 euthanized animals. So there is the results. Clearly it takes a lot of time, but you can get there. I mean, what I always say whenever I go to other countries, like if we did it, you can surely do it as well. I mean, because we're a really small organization, but really kind of, you know, passionate, and really, I would say passionate and patient, because for some things and for some changes, we were waiting really for a very long time. So, but you should never give up. I mean, if you have a good idea, just be persistent, and in the end, you will succeed. Ha! Right on time. Thanks. Oh, questions? No?
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. That was a great presentation. Thank you.
Thanks.
I just want to understand, since you've done this so successfully in your municipality,
Yeah.
has it now become a model that others are coming to learn from? And
It's now like it's a staged question, like I told you to ask me this. I mean, this is exactly what we are doing right now. So we are creating sort of a model for other municipalities, but as I said, we adapted to different municipalities. But again, we used a lot of, we did it in our municipality, and it's the same country. And even in the region, you can use this, you know, because the region like Bosnia, even like Romania, it's kind of the same setup. So if we did it in our municipality, and what we did afterwards, like we were very successful in a few other municipalities of the same size or smaller. We still didn't sort of attack the big ones like the capital, because we're going to do that. But yeah, definitely, it's happening. It's possible.
I have another question. So you were saying in terms of education, you all haven't been very successful.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I think the lack of funding, and it's changing right now. So I would like to invite you for my second presentation tomorrow in a big hall, 10:20. So we reshifted because we didn't have enough staff, enough funding to do. We started like very big education programs with like 25 people. Like for our municipality, it's pretty big. So we saw that it's not working. We couldn't kind of keep it for a very long time. So we've reshifted that program right now, and we created interactive software that I'm going to tell you about tomorrow, and it really worked for us. So it's kind of like, this is how we're trying to cover this gap, let's say. Yeah.
All right. We have another question from the floor. All right.
Hi.
Hello. Right.
So, did you find it challenging to include euthanasia in legislation, and how was the public reaction to it? Because in our country, euthanasia is somewhat very controversial. It's also it's challenging enough for the government to be hesitant, and for the public to, they are not very aware.
Yeah.
They are not ready for the concept of euthanasia.
So I think in our country, what was really happening even before we were very sort of active, euthanasia was there already. It was for us very tempting to present non-euthanasia methods, especially to the government, because, you know, it's really like this concept of catching the animals and then returning the animals without like only neutering them. Like, what's the catch? It took us again pretty, like, I don't know, maybe like 10 years to go through that process. So again, I don't know, I assume maybe it could be faster in your country, or it was faster in your country, but in our country, because the euthanasia kind of background was already there. So this concept was very new for both for public and for the community, and for, of course, the legislation bodies and municipality. Yeah.
All right. Are there any more questions?
See you tomorrow.
Okay. So thank you, Mr. Ivan. So we will now move on to the next session.